So I will begin by reciting the Mangalacharanam and invocation prayers, and then we'll enter into Canto 8, and I believe it's chapters 8, also 8, 8. Last week was 7. Om Maganatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitangena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Gena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivazadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you so much for being here, taking your valuable time. Chanakya Pandit says that more valuable than money is time. Why? Because money you can always get back, although we may think we can't, but you can. Time, once you've spent it, that is it. It is gone. So I would like to congratulate all of you and thank you very much for choosing to spend your valuable time by hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the um, method of perfection in Kali Yuga and the place where Lord Krishna went to after he disappeared from his Prakat Leela. So Lord Krishna has entered into this Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavatam being non-different from him. And just to preface today's talk, I was with one devotee earlier today who is in hospital and was spending some time with her. And she used to do a lot of service at the Brooklyn Temple, as I'm based here in New York now. And I told her I'm giving class tomorrow morning at the Brooklyn Temple. And then she said, "Oh, what are you speaking on?" No, I said I'm giving class tomorrow there. And then I mentioned I'm giving class today on the churning of the ocean of milk. And she was like, "Oh, I love that pastime." And then for like about an hour and 15 minutes, we just talked about the ocean of milk pastime. So I already gave my class. You have to go and connect with her and she'll explain everything like that. But actually, she gave most of the class. She was so lit up. And after that, before that, she was feeling very emotional, very distressed, being in hospital. Actually, she's in the emergency ward. And we were discussing last night when I went to visit her that that emergency ward is definitely like going to a hellish planet. I mean, it is just Yamaraj's people are in full swing, just inflicting so much torture on so many people are getting, yeah, just tortured, tortured. Such a heavy, heavy place. Anyway, moving on to the churning of the ocean of milk. Hare Krishna. Okay, so I see you gave me, I think, co-sharing rights. So let me just, oh, interesting. Why is that not? Hmm. Bear with me for one moment, please. Okay, that's why. Okay, here we go. So we'll do like we did last time. We're going to read through all the verses. I think that's valuable for me anyway, and for everyone who's on board. Do you still do that, Dharmendra? Do you have a different session where you read through all the verses?
Yes, every Tuesday we read through the verses in Sanskrit, and then we just read the
The
translation,
English
not the purport.
translation.
Yeah, not the purport. We don't do the purport because we're sort of thinking that the purport will be given within the class in a nutshell.
Got you. Okay, well, thank you for that. So I guess, and mostly everyone who's on this call would have been there on the Tuesday call.
Most of them, yes.
Most of them. Okay, so although repetition of a good
Yeah.
thing is wanted, but let's see. Maybe we'll just do the summary here. Okay, so let me move a few things around my screen so I can see. All right, so we'll just do a little summary of this, and then I also have something before we get into it. We're living in the modern age of technology, so I thought we could watch a little video, which I found, which I think is really good. And I really love these kind of things because if you're like me, I'm a very visual person. I learn best from visual things, although hearing is very valuable, but I really like to see visuals. So anyway, we're going to read the summary here, just to get us in the mood and bring us back to where you may have left off on Tuesday. So, reading from the eighth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8, which is entitled The Churning of the Milk Ocean. This chapter describes how the goddess of fortune appeared during the churning of the ocean of milk and how she accepted Lord Vishnu as her husband. As described later in the chapter, when Dhanvantari appeared with a pot of nectar, the demons immediately snatched it from him. But Lord Vishnu appeared as the incarnation Mohini, the most beautiful woman in the world, just to captivate the demons and save the nectar for the demigods. After Lord Shiva drank all the poison, which is what we discussed last week, both the demigods and the demons took courage and resumed their activities of churning. Because of this churning, first a Sarabi cow was produced. Great saintly persons accepted this cow to derive clarified butter from its milk and offered this clarified butter in oblations for great sacrifices. Thereafter, a horse named Uchaishrava was generated. This horse was taken by Bali Maharaj. Then there appeared Airavata and other elephants that could go anywhere in any direction, and she elephants also appeared. The gem known as the Kaustuba was also generated, and Lord Vishnu took that gem and placed it on his chest. Thereafter, a parijata flower and the apsaras, the most beautiful women in the universe, were generated. Then the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, appeared. The demigods, great sages, Gandharvas, and others offered her their respectful worship. The goddess of fortune could not find anyone to accept as her husband. At last, she selected Lord Vishnu to be her master. Lord Vishnu gave her a place to stay everlastingly at his chest. Because of this combination of Lakshmi and Narayan, All who were present, including the demigods and people in general, were very pleased. The demons, however, being neglected by the goddess of fortune, were very depressed. Then Varuni, the goddess of drinking, was generated, and by the order of Lord Vishnu, the demons accepted her. Then the demons and demigods, with renewed energy, began to churn again. This time, a partial incarnation of Lord Vishnu called Dhanvantari appeared. He was very beautiful, and he carried a jug containing nectar. The demons immediately snatched the jug from Dhanvantari's hand and began to run away. And the demigods, being very morose, took shelter of Vishnu. After the demons snatched the jug from Dhanvantari, they began to fight among themselves. Lord Vishnu solaced the demigods, who therefore did not fight, but remained silent. While the fighting was going on among the demons, the Lord himself appeared as the incarnation, Mohini, the most beautiful woman in the universe. So now I am going to, actually, I might need to, I'm going to stop share and then reshare because I think there's a setting I need to turn on. Yes, share sound. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to share this video. So you'll have to let me know if the sound is working.
In this universe, the struggle between order and chaos has been continuously going on for eternity.
It stopped Prabhu at the moment.
It stopped, Prabhuji.
No sound now.
I think it's on
There's no sound.
pause. It's on pause, Prabhu, I think.
Can you hear it?
No.
No.
Oh, really? So when I went to full screen, it disappeared, huh?
Yeah, we can't see full screen at the moment, Prabhu. It's just still as it is, and I think it's paused.
Okay, let me, okay, so you could still see it, but the sound disappeared, is that right?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, so let me do something else. Share advanced. Okay, so now it should be full screen, correct?
It's full
Yes.
screen, yeah.
In this universe, the
Can you
struggle
hear it?
between order and
Yes.
chaos has been continuously going on for eternity. And today, we dive into one such epic saga of Samudramanthan, the churning of the cosmic ocean. For millennia, the Devas and the Asuras clashed for dominion over the cosmos. In a thunderous battle that shook the very heavens, the Devas emerged victorious. The victory over Asuras ignited a vast celestial celebration among the Devas. Engulfed in their triumph, they drifted away from their responsibilities, their joy tainted by a creeping arrogance. But in the cosmos, karma reigns supreme, impartial to mortals, Devas and Asuras alike. It waits silently to remind them that every deed carries its weight. Devas also were going to learn the lesson of humility soon. One day, Maharishi Durvasa, a sage of immense power revered for his wisdom, yet feared for his temper, presents a divine garland to Indra. Wrapped in arrogance, Indra overlooks the profound respect owed to such a gift and carelessly places the garland on Airavata's head. Disturbed by the scent, the elephant casts it aside, trampling it underfoot. Witnessing this grave disrespect, Durvasa's wrath is kindled. He curses Indra and all the Devas, stripping them of their strength, energy and fortune. The Devas were now vulnerable, and it didn't take long for the Asuras to seize this opportunity. With renewed vigor, they strike, their might overwhelm the enfeebled gods. The Devas fled, allowing Asuras to take control of the universe. In their hour of need, the Devas turned to Lord Vishnu, the preserver of the universe, who advised them to churn the cosmic ocean of milk, Kashira Sagara, and obtain Amrit, the nectar of immortality. Such a task, however, lies beyond the diminished might of the Devas alone. It would require an uneasy alliance with the very foes who usurped their realm, the Asuras. Though hesitant, both the Devas and Asuras, bound by desperation and the allure of immortality, agreed to the arrangement, understanding the potential gains. A churning rod was needed, and what better than the towering Mount Mandara, the majestic mountain, with its peaks kissing the heavens and roots delving deep into the earth, was chosen to stir the cosmic ocean, Kshira Sagara. But a rod alone couldn't churn the vast cosmic ocean. They needed a rope, and so they turned to Vasuki, the king of serpents. Unfurling his enormous body, Vasuki wrapped around the mountain, his scales glistening in the ethereal light of the cosmos. With the Devas at one end and the Asuras at the other, the churning began. Yet the colossal task was fraught with challenges. The weight of Mount Mandara was too much, and it began to sink into the endless cosmic ocean. Seeing this, Lord Vishnu took the form of Kurma, a giant turtle. With his immense strength, he bore the weight of the mountain on his back, ensuring it would not sink and the churning could continue. The ocean frothed and roiled under the strain of the churning. Something unexpected happened. Instead of the anticipated nectar, a deadly poison, hala hala, emerged. A swirling mass of lethal fumes and liquid, it threatened to consume all of creation in its deadly grasp. Faced with this dire threat, Lord Shiva stepped forth to save all creation. In an act of unparalleled sacrifice, he consumes the deadly poison. When the poison started descending into Lord Shiva's throat, Devi Parvati, his consort and the source of all forms of energy in the universe, swiftly intervened and halted it, preventing it from going any further. The poison stayed in his throat, which turned it blue, earning him the name Nilkanth, the one with the blue throat, and Visakantha, the one who held poison in his throat. So the churning of the cosmic ocean resumed again. Soon emerged an array of divine entities and treasures, each more magnificent than the last. The first to appear was Kamadhenu, the wish-fulfilling cow, a symbol of prosperity and abundance. It was gifted to the sages by the Devas. Following Kamadhenu, the beautiful seven-headed divine horse, Uchchaishravas, emerged. Known for its speed and grace, Uchchaishravas was a sight to behold and was given to the Asuras. Then came the moment that from the ocean emerged the goddess of wealth and prosperity, Devi Lakshmi. Her emergence brought prosperity across the universe. Devi Lakshmi then chose Lord Vishnu as her consort, symbolizing the eternal union of prosperity and preservation. Following this, Airavata, the majestic white elephant of Lord Indra, emerged again, uniting with his master. Soon, many such divine things emerged one after another. The resplendent Kaustuba Mani that adorns Lord Vishnu's chest, Parijat, the celestial tree with fragrant blossoms, divine Apsaras, enchanting damsels, Varuni, the goddess of wine, and Sharanga, the formidable bow of Lord Vishnu. At last emerged Dhanvantari, the god of Ayurveda and divine physician, bearing the coveted Amrita, the nectar of immortality. As the divine nectar came into view, the Devas and Asuras completely forgot their alliance and, consumed by their desire for immortality, raced towards Dhanvantari, desperate to claim the pot of Amrita. In the chaos, the Asuras managed to seize the pot, their hands trembling with anticipation as they grasped the vessel containing the precious Amrita. However, Lord Vishnu could not permit the Asuras to attain immortality. Aware of their turbulent and destructive tendencies, allowing them to obtain the nectar would inevitably lead to calamity and chaos spreading throughout the universe. To safeguard the universe from impending chaos, Lord Vishnu assumed the alluring guise of Mohini, a mesmerizing and enchanting woman. Enraptured by the ethereal beauty of Mohini, the Asuras were instantly captivated and willingly surrendered the pot of Amrita to her. Impelled by their desire for her favor, they beseeched Mohini to graciously serve them the divine nectar from her own hand. In Mohini's form, Lord Vishnu tricked the Asuras into letting her serve the Devas first. The Asuras, blinded by their lust, the Asuras agreed without question. After consuming the Amrita, the Devas regained their strength and immortality. They swiftly launched an attack on the Asuras, who were easily overpowered and forced to retreat. With the victory of the Devas, they reclaimed dominion over the universe. The Samudra Manthan not only restored cosmic balance, but also unveiled numerous treasures and divine beings, enriching the cosmos and bestowing blessings upon both Devas and the universe. The tale of Samudra Manthan is more than just a tale of order versus chaos. It teaches us important life lessons. In our minds, just like in the ocean, there are good things and bad things. The bad stuff, like worries and fears, is like a poison that can hold us back. But when we face those bad things and try to overcome them, we can find good things like wisdom, peace, and finally enlightenment. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing.
Sorry, Jai. Nice video, nice graphics. Whoops. Let me. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I just thought it was a nice beginning and opening. Nice to see. I like the visuals. You can see they used a lot of AI in the creation of that little pastime story. So yes, this pastime is amazing. And last week we were hearing, um, you could say, the beginning, and this chapter will see sort of the conclusion of the actual churning of the ocean of milk, which will lead up to the pastime of Mohini Murti, and that will be covered by subsequent speakers following week. So I thought it would be really powerful and important for us to discuss kind of the understanding of the significance of the churning of milk. So there are many different ways that it can be extrapolated. First, we have to also understand that nothing in the Srimad Bhagavatam is mythology, or as Srila Prabhupada would say, mythology. So nothing is mythology. These are not fabulous stories or fables or something that has been made up. These are actual realities and truths. These are true pastimes and histories of events that have occurred and are continuing to occur because according to the Vedic timeline, actually, um, all of these pastimes are getting repeated again and again in different yugas, in different ages, in different universes, things like that. And we see in the Bhagavatam even there are discussions, especially in the second and third canto, around the appearance of Varahadev as one example, where it mentions in one place that he appeared and he was white, I think Shukla. He was white, and in another place, it's described as red. And the acharyas explained that actually these are different manifestations of Varahadev in different yugas, or rather in different universes or different ages, different time periods, but still the same incarnation. So yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, that the Lord, he appears again and again and again in order to reestablish the principles of religion. So therefore he will manifest and make his appearance here in this world in the same forms as predicted by the Shastra, but they may be ever so slightly different. Just like we hear that Lord Chaitanya, he appears once in a day of Lord Brahma. And so that one time of his appearance has occurred. We're most blessed that it occurred just 532-3 years ago in West Bengal. But Lord Chaitanya appears in every Kali Yuga, or the hidden avatar appears in every Kali Yuga, but it's not always the same. Just like prior to Lord Chaitanya's appearance once in a day of Lord Brahma, Krishna appears in the Dwapara Yuga before the Kali Yuga. And that Krishna, before Lord Chaitanya appears, is the Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. So like that, we can understand. But there are other Krishnas that appear that may be plenary portions. So like this, it is not such a linear experience as we may think of it, or we may like to think of it. The Bhagavatam is actually very, I think the term is like omega. It's very spread out. It pulls from over here, and it's not like a structured timeline of beginning to end. The only thing that is actually keeping a continuity of a timeline in the Bhagavatam is the fact that the sages of Naimisharanya are having a conversation with Shaunaka Rishi as their representative and Sutta Goswami as the speaker, and they're discussing a conversation that had recently happened with Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami. So that is an underlying consistent timeline, but the topics that are discussed are very spread out across different yugas, across maybe even different universes like that. So this pastime is a history, it is a truth, it is a real thing that has happened and is happening somewhere in the universe. And we can relate to this in one sense because as the Native American Indians described that within every person, there are two dogs. There is the good dog and there's the bad dog. And we have probably heard this example given numerous times. So within us, we experience a good dog and a bad dog. Or as Bhagavad Gita explains, we experience the divine and the demoniac. So these natures are there within us. In the Mahabharata, it describes that in previous ages, the demons and the demigods lived in different universes. Then in the next age, they lived in the same universe, but on different planets. Then in the next age, they actually lived on the same planet and even in the same towns and in the same families. But in Kali Yuga, they live in the same body. So we actually have that. And dare I say that if anyone, who's on this call this evening, hasn't experienced within themselves a voice of both aspects, then, God bless you. Wish you all the best. But for the rest of us mere mortals, it is almost a perpetual challenge and daily fight to have the proverbial little devil on one shoulder and the proverbial angel on the other shoulder, and to hear that voice inside saying, "Oh, I really wish I could," and another voice saying, "It's better that you don't do that." And then we have these two voices going on. So, in actual fact, that is quite normal. So, from the perspective of the demons and the demigods, not to take away from the fact that the demons and the demigods do exist, but within our own selves, sometimes it's also a little bit like a churning of these two kind of voices or consciousnesses or ideas of ways that we should conduct ourselves. And in order to, when we do that, sometimes when we fight, we churn to find that space of how to say, like freedom from the madness within the mind of these different voices. Then different things manifest from the churning of the ocean of milk. And we saw previously, we discussed how the first thing that comes, and I think this is really interesting, the first thing that manifests from the churning of the milk ocean is hala hala. It's poison. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it explains that the mode of goodness is indicative of being like poison in the beginning and nectar in the end. So we can also take that as a correlation directly to the churning of the milk ocean, because in the beginning of the churning, it was poison. And in the end, it manifested the nectar. Now, what does that mean actually? Because lots of devotees ask, but what does this mean? Like, why would I want poison at all? Well, how could the mode of goodness be poison? Well, it's not poison like actual poison. It's poison because in our conditioned state, it's not fun. It's not nice. It's not it's not tasty or lovely or exuberating in certain ways. Similar to the way that Srila Prabhupada in the Nectar of Instruction, the Upadeshamrita, in text number, I think it's 5, describes how the holy name is also, in the beginning, it may appear bitter. It may be difficult to chant 16 rounds in one go, or to chant more than 16 rounds. Sometimes we may be just in the mood of, let me just get the chanting done so that it's out of the way. But that's a jaundice experience. The holy name is full of flavor and full of taste. But to one who has jaundice, just like sugar, to a jaundiced man tastes bitter. So in the same way, the holy name to a neophyte, to a jaundiced person, to a person who is still contaminated and conditioned by the material energy, the holy name may also taste bitter. So what is the cure for that bitterness in the beginning? Prabhupada would say that the cure for bad chanting is more chanting. So it's not that we say, I remember I met a gentleman once, and he spent quite an amount of time trying to convince me how it was much more important for him to chant one good round every day than to try to chant 16 rounds where the other 15 were probably going to be distracted. And he said, no, I can focus for one round. And so I just chant one good round every day. And I thought, well, that's an easy cop out. I would really have liked to have heard what Srila Prabhupada said to that comment. But his Prabhupada's point is more, the cure for bad chanting is more chanting. So we should keep chanting and chant more. So in the beginning, something that is ultimately good for us and is ultimately filled with immense relish and spiritual nourishment may in the beginning taste like poison. It may be like, oh, I really don't want to do this. I don't have time. I don't have inclination. I have no taste for it. It doesn't light me up. It doesn't fire me up. But if we go through that, because a lot of this is just mental concoction creating blockages that prevent us. So just like if you remember in this pastime, first they had to get the churning rod, and Mandala Mountain wouldn't sit properly. So, but because they were determined, in their mood of cooperation and truce. But see, this is also every aspect that you speak about. It's just so, because the truce, for us to make spiritual progress, to churn the ocean of milk, we have to find some way to create a truce between the good dog and the bad dog. Otherwise, they're just fighting with one another perpetually. As again, the Gita explains that the modes of material nature are constantly fighting for supremacy. So when they get the truce and they keep trying, the mountain but when we cooperate, when we find that space, then Krishna, especially if we go to Krishna, we pray to Krishna for his intervention, then he intervenes. And he first intervenes as Kurma, the tortoise, and he has the mountain on his back. But then you've got Vasuki, the churning rod, the snake, and he starts breathing fire and causing havoc. So I mean, tell me, anyone on this call, if your life has been free from opposition, obstacles, difficulties or challenges, tests, in fact, you cannot live in the material world. This is why the material world is called Kunta, because it is a world of anxiety and distress. There is perpetual challenge and difficulty. But for a devotee, every challenge, every obstacle, every opposition is actually simply an opportunity for making spiritual progress. It's described that we do not get muscles. You can see my big muscles here. You don't get big muscles like this without opposition. Bodybuilders, they get stronger because of resistance. And the material energy is very happy to provide us with much resistance. All the time, there is some resistance. I have to get from point A to point B, and I get nothing but red lights and traffic jams, or I get, that my card doesn't work on the subway or whatever happens. Someone calls, it's late, I have to get it. There's always some opposition. So Krishna is perpetually giving us opportunities to show him that within our mind, within our consciousness, we are going to place our faith in him and our trust in him, while at the same time making an endeavor externally to try to please him. So it doesn't mean that we just go, oh, anyway, some opposition is always there. I'm always late traveling, so I'll just leave an hour later and not care about it. That's not correct either. This is the balance between the demon and the demigod within us, the divine and the demoniac, that we have to endeavor to please Krishna with all our heart, with all of our energy, with all our enthusiasm. But we also have to know that ultimately it's up to him, and to try not to get disturbed and allow that demoniac nature. One devotee here, he'd be familiar with the Chuta Gopi. Devi, she's such an amazing kirtan leader. She's on tour in India, I think, at the moment, and chanting Hare Krishna to tens and twenties, thousands of devotees. Her brother, Ananta Govinda, they lead the Thursday night kirtans here at the Bhakti Center. And very often, Ananta Govinda Prabhu, he will share with the devotees how his drive from Queens into Manhattan, which can take quite a long time on the traffic jam, that sometimes here in New York, it's very similar to India, that people are always blowing their horns. But in India, they blow it out of respect, so you know that they're there. Here, they blow it for you to get the heck out of the way. So it's like a very different kind of situation. And he says sometimes he's very tempted when people cut him up to offer them a nice mudra, which is not a mudra I can do on the screen here. That would probably offend some people, but you put your hand over, you would offer some mudra, and then he remembers, I can't do that. It's like Krishna sees, he's in my heart, he knows what's happening. What would my Guru Maharaj think if he was sitting next to me in the car and I offered this kind mudra to the people in front of me? So we see that these testing circumstances, they don't always bring the best out of us. Sometimes they actually bring the worst out, and that's the poison. And the poison comes out, and it can be like, but somehow we have to, keep going through the poison in order to get to the nectar. So like that, it's a journey. Everything Krishna consciousness is just such an important journey. So there's the idea of cooperation and conflict that comes up. There's also the emergence of different divine treasures. And this was what my friend who's in hospital and we were discussing. I kept saying to her, so what happened? What came out of the milk ocean? And she said, well, first it was a poison. And we were discussing the poison and Lord Shiva and Nilkant and how he was able to drink the poison. And then we heard that one of the things that came next, and I was looking, because in this video it mentions it, and I'm going to dig around some more. I thought maybe in the purport or in another place, but Uchaishwara, how do you pronounce it? Uchaishwara. The horse, yeah, Uchaishwara. He manifests, and that he is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he is that horse. So he manifests. Now, in that video, it mentioned that the horse had 7 heads, which is the first time I've heard that or understood that. But it's not surprising, because it would have to be a magnificent horse. Of course, in our own quote unquote Greek mythology, we often talk of Pegasus, the flying horse. And also, there's a lot of discussion in ancient English folklore of the unicorn. So there are always, that has a one single coiled horn in the front, a magical creature, and often sometimes also able to fly. So like this, so gosh, I need to find it now. Uchaishwara, give me 1 second.
It is Uchaishwara.
It is, yeah, Uchaishrava. It's Shrava, Uchaishrava, Uchaishrava, Uchaishrava. Thank you, Uchaishrava, Uchaishrava. So Uchaishrava appeared, and then and now who got Uchaishrava? I think that's interesting because it's another point. So this magical creature appears, and Indra, of course, Indra, he's the king of heaven, and because of that, he feels, and actually, as we saw from the video, this whole churning of the milk ocean and the downfall of the demigods to the demons is because really of his false pride, which we hear about again and again in the pages of the Bhagavatam. Indra, that's a hard, it's a tough character to be cast in. He's perpetually, he's the king of heaven, and to live into that role and play that job means that he is going to be associating with immense material opulence, and that makes it very easy to become intoxicated, and he becomes intoxicated by that, and because of that he acts inappropriately. But as we saw earlier in the fourth canto, the pastime with Prithu Maharaj, where he was perpetually trying to interrupt the 100-horse sacrifice, in the end Vishnu came to Prithu Maharaj with Indra, and he personally requested Prithu Maharaj, you please forgive Indra. Even though he was creating upasampradayas, stealing the 100th horse, causing so much mischief, being diabolical, basically, even though he was doing all that, Lord Vishnu said, I still love him. He's still my devotee. And this speaks so much about the nature of God. And he requested Prithu Maharaj, you please forgive him. So like that, it's Indra has quite an important position and also a very dear place in the heart of the Lord, yet he seems to get up to some mischief, like that different times. So in this situation, he really wanted Uchaishrava. I got it right. I'm so happy. Uchaishrava. He really wanted Uchaishrava, but the Lord had already prepared him to just let some of these things go. Like you have to appease the demons also. So in that way, Bali Maharaj, who was the king of the demons, and again, another interesting, as soon as you say a name, the Bhagavatam just opens up. So who's Bali Maharaj? Bali Maharaj he's the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. He's the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, the king of the demons, just as Prahlad Maharaj was. And it's one of those conundrums or one of those dichotomies. Like, how do I get that Bali Maharaj is one of our Mahajans? He is one of our Mahajans. He is the Mahajan of Atmanavedanam. He's the Mahajan of complete surrender, and he's the king of the demons. Bhishma Dev is also a Mahajan, and he was on the side opposing Krishna. He was fighting for the demons, and in fact, Duryodhana and the Kauravas. So, like this, sometimes we really have to see that just because something may appear externally one way does not mean that it is the way that we think on a deeper level. And Krishna's vision is so vastly more encompassing and unique than ours. Dinabandhu Prabhu from Vrindavan, he gave this beautiful example of how the difference between the way Krishna sees the world and the way we see the world. And he used the example of a tapestry. And he described that a tapestry, if you know what a tapestry, like it's a knit, like wall mounted, almost looks like a painting, but it's a tapestry, very, sometimes with mirrors and lots of different colors and fabrics. If you look at the bottom or the backside of a tapestry, there's all these knots, there's all these frills of, it just looks monotonous. It looks chaotic. It doesn't look like art at all. It's not attractive. That's the way we see. But Krishna, he sees from the top of the tapestry, from the front of the tapestry. And what does that mean? It means that he is seeing the amazing organization of the way everything is laid out. He's not looking behind the scenes. He's looking at how everything is working perfectly and how he's using every single person perfectly in his service. So in this way, Indra, Ruchaishrava, Bali Maharaj is in the mix as the king of the demons. And then what comes next? Oh, Aravitas. Gosh, why am I having so much trouble? It's like one of those things when you say it fast, it goes. So Aravito, Aravita, AIR, long AVATA, Iravita. So Iravita appears, and Indra says, "Yeah, I'll have him." So he takes Iravita, and basically, which is the king of the elephants, and he has 4 tusks. So this is also interesting, similar to, we have elephants, and I don't know if anyone here has been in the presence of an elephant, but they are exceptionally majestic creatures, and probably the closest I think I'll ever get to being around something that's like a dinosaur or something. They're just massive creatures. But if you see what used to be called woolly mammoths, sometimes they have these things if you go to the Natural History Museum, and they were massive elephants. And I think they do have some that also had maybe 4 tusks. At least they had 2 massive tusks. So, but Aravita, he can move about as he likes. Um, and along with him appeared another 8 great elephants, as well as their she elephants. Then next came this Kaustuba Mani, the Kaustuba gem, and the Padmaraga Mani. And basically, Lord Vishnu said, "I'll have those." So he took both of those and placed it on his chest. Um, and let's see, then the Parijata flower, or the Parijata tree, which we know later also there's a whole pastime. And I'm realizing our time is almost up and I'm only just getting started. So, as you can see how easy it was for Shukadev Goswami to speak for 7 days to Parikshit Maharaj. Yeah, the Parijata tree. Okay, sorry, Jay. Thank you for joining in. Then the Apsars, which also very interesting. Prabhupada explains in the translation there, he says, who are used as prostitutes on the heavenly planets. Look at that. We think generally if someone says you're a prostitute, it's a very low class, degraded, it's a derogatory thing. But the Apsaras, of which some of them are the mothers of some of the greatest heroes in the Bhagavatam. Anyway, so like that, but here they play the role of ladies who, give pleasure to Indra and to the important demigods like that. So they're churned out of the milk ocean. Who else comes? Then the goddess of fortune appears. Yes, after the Apsaras, all these beautiful, beautiful, attractive women. Then another beautiful, attractive lady, Lakshmi Devi, she appears, Rama. Rama, she is the giver of pleasure and absolutely dedicated to being enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then the Lord said, yes, you can join me. You can always be eternally situated on my chest. And they began worshiping her. And then, yes, whereas the great sages perform bathing ceremony. Yes. Gosh, that's amazing. Yep, all the Vishwakarma, the Prajapatis, Mother Lakshmi. Yes, so much about the goddess of fortune. And here, okay, so they worshipped goddess of fortune. Sorry, just trying to rush through now as we have. Okay.
Varuna.
Yes, thank you. So then next is Varuni, not Varuna. Varuni is the person who gives Varuna. Varuni, yeah, the lotus eye goddess who controls drunkards. So you know, this propensity or proclivity for intoxication is manifested. And who gets that? The demons. So the demons get to, while at the same time, we do hear that the demigods, they're regularly drinking. What is it that they drink?
Somaras.
Somaras, yes. So they're also taking some regular intoxication. So Bali Maharaj took possession of Varuni. Say again? Yes, and then finally Dhanvantari appears, and he brings the pot of nectar. And then everyone becomes excited. And of course, then what happens is when the nectar starts to come, and this is the same for us, that sometimes after all the churning, all the different things coming out, then we finally get to the nectar, and then the real battle begins between the demoniac and the divine, in the sense that the demons, they were like, without hesitation, it's ours, and we're going to steal it. And they did. And so they took the pot of nectar, and their intention was to engage it in their own service. And even though they had entered into an agreement with the demigods that they would churn and work together to get the nectar, in the end, that demoniac propensity, that demoniac nature, the propensity to cheat, which is there present in each and every one of us, unfortunately, as fallible human beings. Yeah, that sometimes can override our best intentions and previous agreements and lead us into fall down. So basically, the demigods run off with this. The demons run off with it. The demigods become morose, which I thought was an interesting term. But they, in their moroseness, they approach Vishnu, and they say, "Now, what are we supposed to do?" Which is the nature of the demigods, the nature of divinity, is that no matter what happens, we're always saying, "Okay, Krishna, what do we do now? We're dependent on you. We take shelter of you. Please guide us. Please help us. Please give us the strength to cope with this. Please give us, whatever we need, what we need to learn. Please help us to learn from this." And then the Lord, who appreciates that mood and mentality, he manifested himself as Mohini Murti. And it's very interesting that this comes up now. And I love this because I'm also reading with another group of devotees a book called the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which I cannot recommend enough, a very powerful, potent scripture given to us by Srila Sanatana Goswami. And that I've just been reading about how Gopakumar, he pierces through the material plane and he finds himself in the realm of Prakriti. And in the realm of Prakriti, that realm is ruled over by Mohini Murti. So he comes face to face with Mohini Murti there. Now, of course, we know in another place, Lord Shiva, he's meditating and he's praying to Krishna. I really would like to see this form of Mohini Murti, just to see how beautiful she actually is. And of course, Lord Shiva is understood to be a most self-controlled man. Even Parvati can be how to say, anyway, she can be trying to entice him, and he's not bothered. He remains Dhira. But as soon as Krishna manifested for Lord Shiva's pleasure the form of Mohini Morti, he just went bonkers. Actually, he became overwhelmed with lust and began chasing after her like, a lusty schoolboy, chasing after someone. And he was just overcome by her beauty. So I remember in my brahmachari days, it was like, we don't talk about Mohini Morty, okay, guys? We just leave her out of the pictures. None of this, that's a form. Of course, there was one devotee I remember he used to say, "What which yuga do we worship Mohini Morty? We need to get a deity of Mohini Morty." Anyway, not really the best topic for discussion, but it is a manifestation of the Lord, and I found it very intriguing reading through Brihad Bhagavatamrita. This is the second time I'm reading it, but I didn't remember that Mohini Murti was the presiding deity of the lair of Prakriti. Okay, anyway, we have 1 minute left. I didn't really leave much time for questions and answers, and I just rambled on quite a lot. Please forgive me. Wasn't as structured as I had hoped to deliver, but hopefully something that I said made sense. And I see one question has come up. Yes, Janukanya Prabhu or Mataji. If you could turn on your camera,
Hare
that'd be
Krishna.
great. Hare Krishna.
Sorry. Okay, I'll try. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Can you see me?
I did for a split second,
Oh,
but no problem. If it's too much, don't worry. It's okay.
it's not working. Okay. One question. I have a few questions, but it's not time. I'll just ask one.
Mhm.
Both are on significance of what has happened. And the first one is, what's the significance of Lord Vishnu's role as the pivot, the this kurma you said, in the churning
Yeah.
of the milk ocean, and how can we apply this in our own spiritual practice?
Mhm. Okay, so Korma was the tortoise, and he became the balancing point for Mandara Mountain. So the churning rod kept falling off and falling over. So Lord Vishnu himself became Korma, and he took the position underneath Mount Mandara, and like that. And even though the churning rod was going like this, and it was causing him some distress, but the interesting thing, as explained in the Bhagavatam, is that even though he was experiencing some distress, he said, "No, no, no, it's okay. I'm all right. I've just got a little itch back there, and that's the perfect kind of back scratcher, just to take care of that little itch that I've got." So now your question is, how does that relate to us? Well, first and foremost, we have to understand that we're not Krishna. It's unlikely that we can manifest ourselves as Korma, but what we can understand from this, and I would say would be a nice application for us, is that we have to be ready and prepared sometimes to do the needful in order to keep things going, even if it's not necessarily according to our dharma or our varna or maybe even our ashram, although in general we stick to those things. But a devotee is prepared to do the needful. Srila Prabhupada is the perfect example. 26 Second Avenue, where I also perform lots of service. We were just there the last 2 days, greeting guests and people who come to visit. And Prabhupada would cook. He would purchase the items to cook. He would serve out the prasadam. He would then clean up the pots, clean up the place after all the young boys and girls had left. Srila Prabhupada is the Senapati Bhakta. He is the pure devotee sent by Krishna. He should not be cleaning the pots. He should not necessarily be serving. But Prabhupada, according to time, place, and circumstance, was prepared to do the needful, and he wasn't complaining. And it was only when one of the devotees said, Swamiji, I just noticed we all leave. Well, what happens to all the pots and all the dirty plates and everything? And he says, I clean them up. And they're like, oh, no, really? Oh, God. Like they didn't think about that. Like they just thought they disappeared afterwards or something. And he said, well, Prabhupada, can we help you? And he said, I've been waiting for quite some time for someone to offer to help. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love that. So anyway, that's my answer to you, Janakanya Devi. Does that make a little bit of sense? Does that help?
Very much so. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. We'll come back to you with your second question. Sadhvi also has her hand raised.
Yes, sure.
Sadhvi Devi.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very, very much for tonight. What I don't understand why when we look at the clip on the YouTube, it didn't mention anything about when one of the demons got to drink of the nectar, some of it, and he got some of it in the throat, but Mohini cut the head off him. Why is not mentioned there? Because
Sadhvi Devi, we're going to have to issue a spoiler alert. You've just gone beyond the remit of my talk today, and that's why it wasn't in the video. That's not for us to speak about. Shh.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's next week's session. That's the manifestation of Mohini Murti why did I just forget his name? Wow. Yeah. Anyway, so that's next week.
Please forgive me.
No,
please,
no problem. You're eager.
Sorry.
You're reading ahead. You're a good
Please
student. You're already reading ahead. You're really learning the Bhagavatam. No, I'm just teasing with you. If Dharmendra is still there, if we still have time, unless someone else is going to ask, I see Kusum Modad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Modadarani.
Yeah. We miss you at Radha Ladineshwar temple.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, in the introduction it says some items were created, some appeared. So how do we understand that?
I'd have to see which one that was specifically, but
like the apsaras were created, I think it said.
So the apsaras were created, and some other things
some
appeared.
Others just appeared. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to be honest and say that I don't know that I have an exact answer for that. Although we see that generally in the material world, I guess you have many things that appear to be created by the kind of coming together of different elements and like that. But then we may also have experience of something just seeming to appear out of nowhere, or where did that come from? So how to define those two things, I'm not 100% sure. I probably need to read a little bit more deeply into that. But I think it's just generating and creating a distinction that, like for instance, the Lord, he's not created. So anything to do directly with the Lord wouldn't be something that was created. It would be something that appeared. So quite possibly Lakshmi Devi might be something that appeared. Even Dhanvantari, it's described that he was, I think, a plenary portion, a plenary expansion of the Lord. So he wouldn't necessarily be created. He would appear. We refer to acharyas, great acharyas, and also the Lord on the days like Nishringa Chaturdasi or Balaram Jayanti or Varaha Dwadasi or Vamana Dwadasi. We say that it's the Lord's appearance day. We don't say that he was born. We say that he appeared, because he's not born of the material elements. He's not created by the material elements. So that might be an interesting path to pursue. And if you go back and look through it, and you see which things might have been referenced as appearing, then like the apsaras are not necessarily considered like expansions directly of the Lord. They're not Vishnu Tattva. So probably anything that was Vishnu Tattva would have appeared, and all the other items probably would have been created like that. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah, but when we think about even ourselves being eternally, like we are not created, we are eternal souls. So that's what I think.
Yes. Yes, and that's a great statement. We're also expansions of the Lord, no doubt. But we are also distinctly different in the fact that we are conditioned, at least I am, Kusum, maybe you may be free from conditioning, but I'm definitely conditioned, and probably many of us are. And that means that we don't appear. We don't have an appearance day. We kind of came out covered in mucus and blood and all kinds of other nasty stuff. And the Lord, he appeared with a full head of hair, with beautiful earrings, beautiful necklace, dressed. I mean, if you came out like that, Kusum Devi, I offer my Dandavat Pranam, full glory to you. But most of us are the product of a creation process. The Lord is not the product of a creation process. He simply appears by his own divine will.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Just a thought. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Wow, we
Krishna.
got some more hands up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is that okay, Prabhu? Is that okay, Prabhu, to continue?
I'm okay. Yeah, I could probably go for a little while longer.
Okay. Shakti Prabhu, would you
as
like
long
to
as
ask
you are.
Yeah. Would you like to ask a question, Shakti Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Pranams, everyone. Sorry, I was listening on a different device, so you might think, where's this username come from? But yeah, my question was, when Lord Shivji, when he started running after Mohini Murti, as per the Leela,
yeah.
I want to be really careful how I word this because I don't want to obviously offend. But what was Parvati Mata's reaction when she must have, if she didn't see it, she must have heard that, oh, that's what happened. Like, is there any description of what her reaction was?
Yeah, I'd have to look that up in the Bhagavatam, and I'm trying to remember. For some reason, I'm thinking that's also in the 8th canto, but it may be in a different place. But Parvati was privy to the situation, and her reaction was, "Isn't the Lord amazing? Isn't the Lord amazing?"
Wow.
Krishna is so amazing because she knows how Dhira Lord Shiva is. And so for him to be allured like that and to act like that, she was just thinking, wow, the Lord is simply amazing that he was able to allure my Dhira husband so easily. And of course, but she is herself Prakriti, she is Durga Devi, she is, Parvati. So she is the personification also of the material energy. She is Maya. But she could see and understand that although she is the supreme alluring factor for all jivas in the world, but Krishna, he allures even her husband, who's not even. Lost my earpod just died. Let me put my. She was just in amazement. She thought Krishna is incredible. So she was grateful. But she may have also been thinking, but I'd have to read the pastime and read the purports. So but that's for sure. That's there mentioned that she was just in amazement at the Lord.
All right, thanks. Thanks for sharing. And thanks for coming on again 2 weeks in a row. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, at least we forget that the word Krishna actually means the all attractive. So he is the all attractive potency within anything and everything. So when it comes to the alluring or attractive feature of the fairer sex, let's say, the fairer gender, then he is the personification of that. So like that. I think Panchali Kar also has her hand raised so patiently.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my
Is
humble
that Panchali? Is that you?
It is the same for Panchali Prabhuji, and we do. I
Hari.
completely agree with Kusumataji. We do miss you here in Radha Landaneshwara. So nice to be able to, be in your class, and thank you for the
Thank
wonderful
you.
class as
Thank you
always.
for missing me. I miss me too.
And yeah, so if I'm there in New York, I'll definitely come and visit you.
Please.
Because Prabhuji, a very, very quick question from me.
Yes.
So maybe I misheard, but it says Airavat, the elephant, comes twice. Why is that, sir? Why does it say the elephant comes twice? And the second quick question is, and again, I may be wrong, and I may have heard wrong, that Lord Shiva, the reason he keeps the halal poison in his throat and doesn't allow it to go anywhere down is because of his reverence towards the Paramatma, the Lord. And he doesn't want to cause any disturbance or distress to the Lord or offense to the Lord. Have I, am I right? And is that the case? And yeah, a bit of confusion around Airavat Prabhuji as to why it's mentioned it's twice. He appears twice.
Yes. I'm just going back to that section. So it says the next result of the churning, the king of elephants named Airavata was generated. This elephant was white, and with its 4 tusks, it defied the glories of the Kailash mountain, the glorious abode of Lord Shiva. Then the next one says, thereafter, O king, 8 great elephants, which could go in any direction, were generated. They were headed by Airavan. And then 8 she-elephants headed by Abramu were also generated. The names of the 8 elephants were Airavan, Pundarik, Vamana, Kamuda, Anjana, Pushpadanta, Sarvabhauma, and Supratika. Then the next one goes on to talk about the celebrated gems. So I don't see that Airavata appeared twice. There was Airavata, and then there were 8 other elephants that were headed by someone whose name was similar to Airavata, but it was Airavana.
Okay.
So I don't think they're the same elephant.
Okay. Yeah.
So unless there was somewhere that you saw or read or heard or understood that Airavata specifically appeared twice, I think they're different individual elephants.
No, I probably misheard it, Prabhuji. My fault. Thank you for explaining.
No problem. That's my understanding. I definitely could also be incorrect.
Thank you.
Janupanya.
Hare Krishna, yes. My goodness, there's so many questions generated coming up as we talk more and more. But the one I'm going to ask is how does the churning of the milk ocean represent the process of karma and the attainment of liberation?
How does it represent the process of karma and the attainment of liberation? Well, of course, it can be analogous to many different things according to the perspective of the person who's, trying to make the point or show a specific correlation. For us, in one sense, as Vaishnavas, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, our goal is not liberation. Our goal is to give pleasure to Krishna, ultimately. And in the same way, we see that Krishna's goal or Vishnu's goal in the churning of this milk ocean was to give pleasure to his devotees. But at the same time, he understood he also had to give some things to the demons. Just like for us, sometimes there's a saying, Prabhupada said that sense gratification should be like salt in the life of a devotee. That if we try to eat food without any salt, then it's going to be very bland. But if we, and because it's bland, then we probably won't like it and we won't eat it. So we have to add a little salt. But if we add too much salt, it's also not going to be edible. So in that sense, he described that there may need to be a little bit of that. So in this sense, for the demons, sometimes they have to be appeased. Sometimes there has to be the appeasement of that demoniac tendency in us, not in a drastic way, but in a way like some senior devotees say that sometimes you just have to say to the mind, or good example, Shastric example, Haridas Thakur, when the prostitute was sent to try to allure him, he kept saying, yes, 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 I really want to enjoy with you. I'm happy to enjoy with you. I will definitely enjoy with you as soon as I finish my rounds. And then he would just keep chanting. And so like that, sometimes we also have to try to appease the mind, like, yes, 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 no problem here. Have a little salt, just, I'll get to you in a minute kind of thing, so like that. So how does it work for us churning? Because we also have to, our life in Krishna consciousness, aspiring to come to a platform of becoming a sincere servant of the Lord, means that lots of stuff is going to get churned up in the heart. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes this as the cleaning of an attic. And he says that if you have an attic where you've been storing things for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, some of us have those places, closets or basements or under the bed or behind the settee or wherever it is, where we haven't been for a long time. And if you pull out the sofa, you open the door, you go into the attic and you look, you're like, okay, everything's here, everything's settled, the dust is all settled, it seems like it's okay. But if you start to clean, then the dust starts to go into the air, and then you see more dirt, and then you see, oh, this is out of place, that's out of place, all this. And that's what happens. When we start to churn, these things are going to come up. And some of them in the attic, you may find some beautiful jewels in the sense of like, oh, look at this picture from when I was 5 years old. Look at this photo of my mother. Look at this old record album. Look at this thing. You may find some jewels, but you may also find a lot of maybe some traumatic stuff, some different things. So in the process of Krishna consciousness, we're going to churn up a lot of anartas, unwanted things also there in the heart. And we're going to have to deal with those and address those so that we can come closer to being pure servants and pure representatives of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. That was good. I love the analogy of the clearing up the mess.
Yeah, I'm good at making messes, and I'm trying to get better at cleaning them up. Not so easy. So I think that's it from my side, Dharmendra Prabhu, if that works for you.
That's perfect. If Prabhuji, if I could ask Maya a question, if that's okay.
Oh,
is that okay? And then if we'll just go straight to the final prayers, if that's okay. But thank you so much for giving this class, and we'd love to see you once again soon. So my question is, it's following up on that theme. Should we be striving for nectar or just be satisfied with poison?
Yeah, well, we should never, in one sense, be satisfied with the poison. The poison will be part of the process, or it may be a partial or temporary experience on the path. But ultimately, the prayojana is to the ultimate goal is to fall in love with Krishna, and that will be nectar at every step. In the spiritual world, every word is a song and every step is a dance. So we shouldn't become content to stay in the material world and experience perpetual poison. We should aspire for going to the spiritual world or attaining spiritual consciousness, which is also a liberation, to attain that spiritual consciousness where we're always eager to hear and chant in the association of devotees and to hear Krishna Katha, to learn more about Krishna, to study the Bhagavatam deeper. So this is all nectar. The poison that we'll have to go through is that I don't have enough time, I don't have enough taste, I don't, all of those things. That's the nectar. So it's not that we should be satisfied with nectar. We should understand that it may be initially part of the process, but we keep feeding the good dog, even though the bad dog is barking so much, and ultimately the good dog will win.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hari
If we can all kindly unmute and say our 3 Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! If I could kindly ask you to say the final prayers, I'll quickly share them on screen like I did last week, if that's okay, Prabhu. There you go. I think you can see that now. Hare Krishna.
Just now coming. I don't see it. There it comes. There it is. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Grantara Shima Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Ananta Kodi Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrindas Ki Jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari
Hari Bol.